Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Gerbil Vine. Hey guys, and welcome back to The Gerbil Vine. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and supporting the Gerbils and I spreading good care and good information around here on YouTube. You guys are awesome. For today's video, I wanted to tackle more of a controversial issue, which is gerbil housing size. Now, I am aware that different countries have different size minimums in place, and I do live in Canada. And unfortunately, gerbils do not get the same respect here that they do in other parts of the world. I have searched many articles, and the common consensus seems to be that gerbils should be housed in a minimum 10-gallon tank. Now, I do have a spare 10-gallon tank because with gerbils you can really not have enough spare tanks. You never know if something can go wrong. It's just good to have in case of emergency. So I'll be setting up that tank to show you exactly what you can fit into that tank and how small of a space it truly is. So a 10-gallon tank works out to 200 square inches of floor space. And while it provides the right security, being glass, it does not, however, provide adequate space for your gerbils. This breaks my heart, and if you own gerbils, I'm sure that this resonates with you as well. Having such a busy, active, magnificent creature confined to such a small space will definitely impact their happiness and their overall quality of life. Unfortunately, this is what veterinarians and other animal advocates advertise in my country as being the minimum, which is why I wanted to touch on the subject today. If you have all of these professional, respected opinions compiled together telling you that this is what you should be doing for your gerbils, then it's likely that you will go out and you will buy a 10-gallon tank because these are supposedly trusted sources for information. So I am here today to say don't do it. Do not house gerbils in a 10-gallon tank. They should be, in my opinion, housed in a 40-gallon tank, which equals out to 648 square inches of floor space. So that's more than triple what veterinarians and other animal organizations in my country are advertising appropriate size for gerbils. So I recommend a 40-gallon tank because you will be able to provide them with enough burrowing depth and length in order for them to make and sustain proper burrows. It will also allow you to organize the tank better. As you can see behind me, I have recently built a topper for my tank and I absolutely love it. I can't imagine ever going back to a regular tank without a topper for gerbils because, as you can see, I am able to give them almost the whole bottom area filled up with bedding. I measured it and it's about 17 inches of bedding in the deepest part. For now, let's begin by discussing Canadian Gerbil Care guides. So the first Canadian care guide that we're going to be reacting to is the Heartland Niagara Animal Hospital Care Guide. So it says here, a proper habitat is crucial to your pet's well-being. You'll need 5 gallons of space per gerbil. There are many types of cages to choose from. Glass aquariums with mesh or wire tops are a great choice. You can use a wire cage, though you'll want one with a solid bottom. Plastic cages are also acceptable as long as they provide proper ventilation. Some of that information is correct. Like you'll need to put them in a glass aquarium. However, this is the first website that I found that listed gerbils should be housed in a minimum space of 5 gallons per gerbil, which equals out, you should be buying your gerbils in pairs, so that would equal out to a 10-gallon minimum, which is unfortunate. So our next link that we have is for Ruffin's Pet Center. Make sure you choose a cage carefully because it is possible for the gerbil to gnaw his way through wood. A wire cage specifically for small animals is good, or use a 10-gallon aquarium. So that's the second Canadian link on Gerbil Care that recommends using a 10-gallon aquarium as a minimum. So our next link is for PetSmart. And while we all know that you shouldn't trust pet stores or their care guides, this is still readily available information. So it says here, how do I set up a gerbil habitat? House your gerbil in a habitat that's at least 12 by 12 by 12 inches with multiple levels and an exercise wheel. So if we open up our calculator here, let's see what 12 by 12, that equals out to 144 square inches of floor space. So that's even smaller than a 10-gallon aquarium, which works out to 200 square inches of floor space. So PetSmart is actually recommending that you house them in something smaller than a 10-gallon aquarium. So that's really unfortunate and upsetting to see. So next we're going to move on to Rockstar Gerbils, and this is where I actually got my gerbils from, so shout out to Jessica at Rockstar Gerbils. So on her website it says, gerbils require cages that allow them to exercise their natural burrowing behavior. The best cages for gerbils to live in are tall glass aquariums or homemade bin cages. Plastic cages and wire cages commonly sold in pet stores are not ideal housing options for gerbils. Please avoid any commercial cage that uses connecting plastic tubes as well. They are too small, encourage territorial behaviors, and gerbils can easily chew their way out. We recommend a size of between 20 to 30 gallons for a pair of gerbils. So a 30-gallon tank would be a much more suitable minimum for your gerbils. However, it is sometimes hard to find a 30-gallon. I myself found it quite difficult. I could only find like 10, 20, 40. The 30 gallons that I did find were like, you know, the like crested gecko starter tank things. So that obviously wouldn't be suitable for a gerbil as it's like super tall and not very wide. So our next link is from the Regina Humane Society. So they have quite a bit of information on gerbils here. So we're just going to skip right to the housing part. So it says here, many different types of cages can be used for gerbils. Aquariums, 10 or 20 gallons, work very well as long as they are well aerated and kept out of direct sunlight and away from heat sources. Hamster or small animal cages also work well. However, some gerbils have a tendency to injure their noses by rubbing on the bars. So bar rubbing or bar biting is actually a sign of stress in small animals, which usually comes from lack of enrichment, or they're bored, or they're in a really small space and they are stressed and they want out of that space. So that's not a normal behavior. Overall, their consensus is that 10 or 20-gallon aquariums work best. So our next website is the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So on their fact sheet here, they've got quite a bit of information here, so we're just going to go down to their cage and environment section and see what they have to say. So they say, gerbils are social, so it's a good idea to get at least 2. If possible, try to get gerbils from the same litter. Don't keep males and females together as they will breed. Keeping your gerbils in a wire cage or aquarium with a wire mesh top, 10-gallon minimum for 2 gerbils. Try to get the biggest cage you can afford. Your pets will appreciate the extra space. I wish they would have had a higher minimum cage size, like at least a 30. I know hoping for a 40 in Canada just seems outrageous at this point based on all of these care guides, but we can dream, guys. We can dream. Now this is for the Animal Humane Society. Opening line, gerbils should be kept indoors in a wire cage or a 10-gallon aquarium that has a wire mesh cover. Provide different levels for your gerbils to climb on and investigate. If you're using an aquarium, a simple homemade wooden platform with a ramp will do. 10-gallon required as a minimum, which absolutely sucks. And they don't even say that that's as a minimum. They just recommend housing them in a 10-gallon aquarium. They don't even say to give them more space. So that's real unfortunate. Also, I just want to add that all of these links that I got, I literally typed into Google Gerbil Care Canada and all of these websites came up. So if you're just out there searching for good gerbil care for your gerbils, this is the type of information that you're going to come across, which is just super disappointing. So this next link is a really, really sucky website for animal care. So it says here, for a pair of gerbils, a cage of about 12 inches by 24 inches by 12 inches tall is the minimum size, but since gerbils are active, a larger cage is always better. Glass aquariums can be used and are favored over wire cages by many owners. So let's check out on our calculator here what her recommended housing size would work out to. So 12 by 24. So that equals out to 288 square inches of floor space, which is slightly larger than a 10-gallon. I guess maybe that would be like a 15-gallon aquarium. I'm not too sure. However, that would still be something that is too small for your gerbils. I do know that she recommends here that a bigger cage is always better, so at least her minimum is above 10 gallons. So our last link is actually from the British Columbia SPCA. Now it says here, aquariums get an A. Aquariums are great homes for gerbils for so many reasons. You can fill them up with lots of bedding and watch your gerbils get busy creating tunnels and racing through them. Unlike wire cages, aquariums keep the bedding from flying all over the place as gerbils dig. And unlike plastic cages, aquariums can't be chewed through. Aquariums can be quite expensive. The good news is you don't need a brand new one to create a cozy, interesting home for your gerbils. A used aquarium will do and cost a lot less. It doesn't have to hold water, so leaks don't matter. You can look through newspaper and online ads or check out garage sales for used tanks. So that's actually a really awesome recommendation. I think that's great that they're recommending to get a secondhand tank, because a lot of times people will look at the price of a tank and say, no way. So there isn't actually any information here about a minimum size. It just says that they should be held in aquariums, to which I say that's awesome. So as we can see, there are many sites and care guides that advertise a 10-gallon minimum housing size for gerbils. This is something that I would love to see change in my country, as gerbils are just such wonderful small creatures, and if you really give them enough space, you truly get to see all of their potential and see them unlock all their natural behaviors. Giving your gerbils a proper sized enclosure will allow them to thrive and live a long and happy life with minimal signs of stress. So it really makes me sad and upset to know that these small enclosures are being recommended by trusted professionals for our gerbils. Unfortunately, if you haven't owned these animals before, you won't really know what works best for them. And if you are a gerbil owner, I would love to know your opinion on today's video topic. Let me know if you agree with my position on the 10-gallon minimum, and again, my opinion is that it is way too small. As always, make sure you like and subscribe so that you never miss an upload. Thank you. Bye.